evening, everyone, and welcome to the Finneran Pavilion for the Countdown to Tipoff shows. Wildcats prepare for a Big East battle with the Butler Bulldogs tonight. I'm Steve Pannone. I'm joined by Whitey Rigsby as we look forward to covering all things Big East tonight. We'll start with a little recap from the UConn game over the weekend down in South Philadelphia. Then we'll have a feature on Gary Buchanan, who was inducted into the Varsity Club Hall of Fame on Saturday. We also have a roundtable segment with the 1985 national champions as well. And then we'll do a quick preview of those Butler Bulldogs. Then we'll look ahead at one of the Wildcats' strong freshmen, Justin Moore. Whitey, you want to talk a little bit about the UConn game on Saturday down at Wells Fargo Center? An old-school kind of Big East game as the Huskies prepare to enter the Big East next season.
Yeah, old school game is going to be a new school again when they start join the Big East next season and become the 11th team in the new Big East, the new reconfigured Big East. Wildcats in South Philadelphia on Saturday they just found another way to win a basketball game. This time they made 11 threes to just 3 threes for the Huskies, and very rarely will you see a game, Steve, where one team has that many more three-pointers than the other and doesn't win. So you would expect Villanova to win a game like that. One thing that UConn presented, though, was a problem for Villanova was they had some real bigs inside, real rim protectors during the course of that game. Bothered Robinson Earl a little bit, bothered our people going to the basket a little bit, but thank goodness Gillespie and Samuels both had big second halves. Let's take a look at that.
Game 17 of the 100 season of Villanova basketball today in South Philadelphia as the Villanova Wildcats rank 14th and 15th in both major polls this week with a record of 13-3 overall, step out of conference play to take on the UConn Huskies. Bay, straightaway three, nails it as we come out of the timeout from the top of the key. Back out to Samuels. Samuels on the dribble. Hands it off to Slater, who's in the game. Slater in the low post. Back out to Bay. Left wing three. He's got it. Back out to Samuels on the right wing. Gives it right back to Bay on the right wing. Bay starting to back down Vital. Back out more. Right wing. Good look at a three, and it's a thing of beauty. Kicks it out to Samuels. And then Samuels goes down the left baseline and does a reverse layup, and it's good. Goes back out Samuels. Three-pointer is good from the left wing. Pivot, reverse, layup off the glass and good for Robinson Earl. Wow, was that crafty. Bay continuing on the dribble. Now starting to back down the smaller Vital right of the lane. Shot clock at 7. Back to Robinson Earl. Wide open three is a swish from the left wing. Starting to back him down. Pulls up right of the lane. Good on the 7-footer. Samuels pump fakes on the three. Samuels flying in. Layup is good and he's fouled. What a take. Huge trip for the Cats. Gillespie finds Samuels, right wing, open three. He's got it! Cats by 4!
As time expires, Villanova has won their 10th game in the last 11 outings. Final score, Villanova 61, Connecticut 55.
Whitey, you saw the juniors really step up in that second half. Colin Gillespie didn't score in the first half, puts up 12 points in the second half. And then Jermaine Samuels down the stretch. As a junior, he's made some big shots in his career here at Villanova. And I want to say none more, but as big a shot as you'll see hitting that three up one.
Yeah, he's made most of his big shots have come from the same spot on the floor, a three-point line to the right of the top of the key. He was terrific in the second half. So was Gillespie. All of Gillespie's 12 points were in the second half of the game. And again, the Wildcats made 11 threes to just 2 for Connecticut. And I think that overall, we saw the start of the game look like Saddiq Bey was going to go off again. He scored 9 straight points for the Wildcats. Didn't score again, Steve, the rest of the day. Only took a couple of shots in the second half.
Yeah, and I think it's the versatility of this team. You're finding different ways to win. You talk about Saddiq Bey with a huge performance against Georgetown a week ago down at the Wells Fargo Center. Comes out strong again, but then it's shut down the last, as you mentioned, 30-plus minutes of the game. But they find a way. It's Samuels, it's Gillespie, it's Robinson Earl on the glass. And let's talk a little bit about Jeremiah Robinson Earl in terms of this reigning Big East freshman of the week again. His job on the boards has been incredible this season.
Yeah, he's a double-double machine, and you watch him play and you say, what does he do like that jumps out at you? And I'm not sure there is anything. He just gets 10, 12 rebounds every game, gets 10, 12 points every game, plays under control, plays really well defensively, and is a key part of this team defensively, Robinson Earl. Another one we didn't talk about earlier, you talked about offensively, but defensively, Saddiq Bey is guarding the other team's best player every game. Doesn't matter matter whether he's a 5'10" Marcus Howard or a 6'7" guy. He's playing the other team's best player all the time.
The other thing with Robinson that really impressed me down the stretch, he was 6 for 6 from the foul line.
Wonderful.
All 3 1-and-1s, knocking down 1-and-1s with a one-possession game. And I had a chance to talk to him after the game about that. He said he's really worked hard with the assistant coaches on his foul shooting. And they always talk about you want your point guards to be good foul shooters. I agree with that, but you also want your bigs because they're going to get fouled more often. They're going to be down around the basket. And for him to have the confidence to knock down those shots was huge.
Yeah, and I was watching practice a couple of different times, and assistant coach George Halkovich spends a lot of time shooting with Robinson Earl, whether it's three-pointers or on the foul line. So he's worked diligently at that part of his game.
And it's tough for a team that, everyone's in their conference season right now, and to step out of league, you have to play a non-conference game against a UConn team that you've played the last 2 years and kind of handled pretty easily. And then they come to your place, you figure, hey, this is a game that we feel confident in. UConn played very well, but the Wildcats, once again, to find a way.
Yeah, they just find a way to win these games. I mean, different ways, different times, different players step up at different times. Let me ask you a question. Your thoughts on UConn joining the Big East, rejoining the Big East?
I think it's great for UConn. I'm not sure, as Coach Wright mentioned, I'm not sure it's great for the other teams. I think it will have effect on recruiting. I think probably Seton Hall and Providence would be the most effective as they're kind of geographically aligned up in that area. But it's great for the league. They'll be great for the Big East tournament. They're going to bring fans. As you heard some fans at the Wells Fargo Center and said, they travel really well. They have a great following. They're a basketball school, so they fit the mold of the other schools in the Big East.
Go to 20 league games. That's a lot of games.
Yeah, it is a lot of games. And obviously Villanova has the additional 4 games of the Big Five. So, a schedule already baked in of 24 games is going to make it very difficult for Mark Jackson and his staff to figure out exactly who to play the rest of the way.
Yeah, and again, UConn is a big addition. They really will help out in Big East time in New York City.
Let's talk about the big 3 made by Jermaine Samuels. The Wildcats winning by 1 late in the second half, and that's your Pico power play of the game.
By Samuels, right wing, open 3. He's got it! Catch by 4! Samuels delivers the 3, the same spot he did against Kansas. (57-53) catch by 4, 31.2 to go.
Jay Wright had the opportunity post-game to talk about the maturation of his juniors, specifically Colin Gillespie and Jermaine Samuels. Let's listen and hear from Coach Wright post-game after the win over UConn.
Great college basketball atmosphere. It's great. It was cool to be a part of it. You can just see the growth in UConn from playing them last year to this year, and just Danny starting to get his culture going. And they are tough. They're intelligent defensively. Those young guards are really good. Their bigs are good. They're, he's just in the process of building his own culture. They're going to be really good. They're going to be a great part of this league. Kind of wish they weren't coming, but it's good for the league. Not looking for more games like that, but I think that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. He's done a really good job there. They're going to be tough to reckon with in the future. And proud of our guys. Having 2 juniors like Colin and Jermaine step up big time was huge. And Jeremiah's playing like an upperclassman. It's just his defense and big time rebounds. And he's done it a number of times that were a big part of the game.
You guys you seem to keep finding different ways to win. It's different guys.
Yeah. We're, I wish I had a good answer for you. We're just finding our way. We really are. We got young guys that are learning how to play. We got juniors that are learning to be go-to guys. I mean, Colin and Jermaine really stepped up and took that game over at the end. And this is the first time for them. They've always had the other guys around them. They were like that in high school, but it's hard to come to college and learn not to be that guy. And now you got to change and be that guy. And they're learning that, and they did a great job.
I had a chance to catch up with Jeremiah Robinson Earl post-game after the big Wildcat victory over the UConn Huskies. Jeremiah tapped 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 big free throws down the stretch to seal the win for the Wildcats. Let's hear from Jeremiah Robinson Earl. We're joined by Jeremiah Robinson Earl as the Wildcats defeat the UConn Huskies 61-55. Jeremiah, tight battle all the way back and forth. You guys are down 6 in the second half. Coach Wright takes a timeout. What do you say to you guys?
We just have to keep a great attitude. We always have the mindset of just coming in, making the games ugly. We know, especially this team coming in, it was going to be an ugly game, and we just have to keep grinding, keeping a great attitude, just going out and playing hard, playing Villanova basketball.
One of the key plays in this game was an offensive rebound that you got late in the game. You were able to retain possession, get yourself fouled, and get to the line. You have a knack for doing. Did that out of Creighton with a big point in the game. Is that something you've done your whole career?
I would say it goes back so long ago to my AAU team in middle school, elementary school. He was always engraving in mind, for me at least, defense and rebounding. So I feel like just been kind of something I enjoy doing every single game, and might not be the cool thing to do because you're not scoring, but from a young age, it's really helped me a lot going out now on a big stage and being able to do it.
Nothing that might not be really cool is hitting free throws. Now you go 6 for 6 down the stretch, all 1-and-1s too, a really big pressure situation. Something you've handled your whole career as well?
I would say for sure this year is the best I've ever been shooting, just with the assistant coaches and just kind of helping me with my technique and form and just little details to help me just concentrate on the free throw line. But for sure the coaching staff helping me with that a lot.
Wildcats win it 61-55 over the UConn Huskies. This weekend was a special weekend back on campus as the Varsity Club Hall of Fame held their annual induction ceremony. Gary Buchanan, former Wildcat scorer, was the men's basketball player inducted this year. Whitey, as a member of the board, talk a little bit about the Varsity Club Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the Varsity Club, this was the 44th Varsity Club Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It was a wonderful evening on Friday night. We had 7 inductees along with the Jake Nevins Special Recognition Award, which was given to Mike Daly posthumously. But the Varsity Club, I've been on the board probably the better part of 40 years now, and it's a board that solely is instructed to elect the Hall of Fame each year from the 24 varsity sports here at Villanova, which can really be a challenge. It can really be a difficult task because of the tremendous athletes we've had across the board in so many sports over these last 30 and 40 years. I think they do a great job promoting it. Now they're very much closely aligned with our athletics department. Dean Kennefic, Brian Beecham, Mark Jackson, their group does a great job presenting this event on Friday night.
Why do you, as we talked about earlier in the season, you're in your 40th year broadcasting now for the Villanova Basketball Network. Talk a little about some of your memories of Gary as a player.
Well, Gary Buchanan will always be known as the greatest foul shooter ever played at Villanova. Percentage-wise, he was. But if you remember that year where he made 73 straight free throws, which was just an incredible record, a terrific perimeter player, terrific perimeter shooter. You know, we talk about guys like me or your brother, maybe couldn't have played as well in this era. Gary Buchanan could have played across all eras because one thing he could do is he could really shoot it.
You had the opportunity to coach Gary in his first 2 years on the main line. He came in as a freshman and was a productive player right away. He prepped up at St. Thomas More, where Villanova's had a lot of success getting players. So he was a year older as he came in as a freshman. He was just so ready to play. His ability to score from the perimeter, his ability to guard the perimeter. He's certainly a worthy candidate of the Hall of Fame.
He scored just short of 1,800 points. 1,800 points, that's a lot of points for him to score. And again, he did it playing for 2 different coaches, which is a challenge. You get recruited by one coach for one style, and the style that you and Steve Lapis coached when you were here is certainly different than the style that Jay Wright coaches today. So he had to play for 2 different coaches and still put up 1,800 points.
Gary's back living in his native St. Louis, doing really well out in the workforce. So as the Wildcats celebrate the 100th year of Villanova basketball, this year, I'd like to take a look back at that 2009 magical run to the Final Four. What are some of your favorite memories of that 2009 team?
Well, one of my single favorite memories of Villanova basketball, how about that, of Villanova basketball all these years, was a play in the UCLA game in the NCAA tournament down at the, I don't know if it was the Wells Fargo Center or the Spectrum in those days, that Dwayne Anderson made, who's currently on our staff. We were up about 18 points in the game, late in the game, and he ran the length of the court and dove flat out on his belly to flick the ball away from the UCLA player. And I'll always remember that. I say, that's Villanova basketball. The way he played right to the bitter end, even in a game that we were going to win, gave up his body to make the play for his teammates. And, of course, the play by Scotty Reynolds against Pitt where he made the winning shot to advance us to the Final Four.
Yeah, it was the Wildcats' first Final Four since 1985, and the heroic ending that it went with Reggie Redding inbounding the ball to Dante Cunningham, who threw the ball ahead to Scotty Reynolds, who went and scored with about 0.3 of a second left, and Wildcats advanced to Detroit. It was a special year and kind of a culmination of all those years that, the Coach Wright's team in 06 had gone to the Final 8, lost to a really good Florida team, and then finally a culmination of getting to that Final Four had to be special for all those players and that coaching staff.
Yeah, and on the way, you beat UCLA, you beat Duke pretty good up there, and then you beat Pitt, your arch rival from your own league, on a big play late. And again, in that game also, I hate to talk about Dwayne Anderson. Dwayne Anderson made a couple of really big plays late in that game before the final play, of course, by Scotty.
So let's look at a little bit of a highlight film of the 2009 season.
the Spectrum was Villanova's South Philly home, and on January 28, 2009, the Wildcats made a special trip back to say goodbye against number 3 Pitt. A sold-out building was ready to witness a display of determination and grit that was a foreshadowing of what was to come 2 months later.
There was a lot of excitement built up around that game, and their stamp was that they were the toughest team, and we wanted to say we were the toughest.
After 2 cracks at top 10 opponents earlier in the year, which produced heartbreaking losses, the 21st-ranked Wildcats stood tall, despite trailing by 5 at halftime. It was a perfect marriage of timely shooting and an aggressive defense that would become this team's standard. This was a first step of a team that later reached the Final Four.
I remember Dante Cunningham chasing down a breakaway layup and pinning it on the backboard. I remember standing on the court as the game ended and there was a standing ovation of 18,000 people. The last game in there brought tears to my eyes. Just that, it almost didn't have anything to do with Villanova. It was like Philadelphia basketball last college game.
That game, we knew that, we wanted to prove something, and we did.
We knew how good they were, and it played out because we played them in the Final 8. But we learned how good we could be that night.
One of the nice segments in the 100th year of Villanova basketball the Wildcats are doing this year is they're gathering some round tables from different eras and different groups. And one of the special ones that we had an opportunity to get together this summer during Summer Jam was the 1985 team that won Villanova's first national championship. Whitey, as a broadcaster part-time on that season, talk about some of the special memories from that 85 team.
Well, I'm sure you have some special memories being a member of that team. And,
I'm wearing one right now.
Exactly. And I do as well. Of course, that 85 team was special, and it was a surprise more than anything, Stephen. I think you even on the team, you had to be surprised that team would get to the Final Four, and then in the Final Four, my guess is you might not have been as surprised that you won because you were there. You're kind of a confident, cocky group, I think, across the board, wouldn't you say? Yeah,
it was Coach Massimino's preparation, I think, got us to a point where you get ready to the game. So there's no way we're going to lose. You felt so confident in the preparation of the team and the coaching staff that, you just felt like, how are we going to lose? If we just do these 3 to 5 things that coaches kind of put in front of us, we're going to win the ball game. And fortunately enough, we were able to win 6 straight ball games.
And I think the first basket of the championship game, if I remember correctly, was kind of a wild shot by Harold Presley.
Yes.
On the baseline and under the basket. He made that shot, and you kind of think, maybe this is the Wildcats' year.
Yeah, we're going to have the full table of round tables from the 71 group. Obviously, some of the more recent teams in 16 and 18 will be available at the end of this year. But let's take a look back at that magical run of 1985.
The 1980s were a glory period for Villanova basketball, with a new conference and national title, all under the watchful eye of Rollie Massimino.
First meeting with Coach Mass, he was usually yelling at us right from the get-go, even from recruiting. So he's a tough guy, a great coach, but we all think, looking back, very fair, very fair.
You always knew with Coach Mass that, the back, he was always had your best interest in mind. He was tough. I remember him telling the first time, I think I had like 20 and 10 in a game, and we're in there watching film the next game. He said, Mitch, who the hell recruited this guy? He sucks. Right? He's like the worst recruit we ever got. And poor Mitch is in the corner. He's looking at me like, geez, John, you're killing me, right? I didn't do anything, Mitch. I got 20 and 10 for you, but.
I got to meet Coach, I guess, at a younger age than all these guys because I was, 14 when John was playing. I remember the first game I came to was Mike and John's freshman year. They lost to Duquesne in the Palestra. A guy named Fred Moon had like 30 points. I remember it like yesterday. And myself and Bobby Dominic and my dad, we went back to Coach's house after the game. And I'm 14 years old, so you got to figure out how this is all going down. And they're having a beverage and talking about who stinks and how bad they played. And they were 5-0 or 6-0 to them. It was their first loss of the year. And I've gone to the Palestra. I was so excited about that. Boy, this college basketball's not all it's cracked up to be because I heard what was going to happen to these guys tomorrow morning. And I was like, I don't want any part of this stuff.
The thing that really got me with Coach Mass was he told me, you probably can't play at Villanova. And he looked me right in the face and said, I don't think you're good enough to play there. And at the time, I was, supposedly going to Pitt, but that challenge right there in itself was enough. And then when I came on my visit, getting a chance to hang out with some of these guys, I just knew this was the right place for me. And Coach was a great leader for all of us.
When he came to my house for the first meeting, and he says, here's what I'm gonna promise you. I promise you that this is not a 4-year relationship. I'm gonna be with you for the next 40 years or until I die. And he kept that promise. I knew that I had to go to Villanova because I knew that I'd never want to play against John Pannone again after what he did to me in high school. He had 48 on me.
Well, he said it was more than that. I heard it.
I got pulled down in the fourth quarter in the first minute.
He said it had another number to it. I don't know.
Well, I only played 5 minutes that game.
Yeah, well, Press thought he had a good game when he had 22. Press thought he had a good game.
It's hard he had 20, he got outscored by 28, but it was all right.
I think when Harold's getting recruited, Coach Matt said, you just stay away, Pannone. You're away. Don't even talk to him this week. He still remembers.
We want him to come.
Let's go.
We practiced. It was, Mike and I will tell you, the first practice was like a living hell. I couldn't walk down the stairs. This is after a full, preseason condition with Coach Mass. We're going 5 days a week. I was holding on to the railing for dear life because my legs were shaking like a leaf. I couldn't even go down the stairs. So it was the worst thing ever. And we came off, I think it was 15 and 16 or 16 and 15 the year before. He was not going 16 and 15 again, right?
Yeah, you'd have to turn the cameras off to hear that conversation. That was not pleasant.
That was not. And we just got there, Mike, I and Stu.
We didn't go 15 and 16. What are you talking about?
Well, we didn't even play a game last year. It's our fault. Okay, go. Guess we're not getting recruited anymore, right?
We've had a lot of, Sweet 16s and Final 8s, and we build on it, and Final 4s, and now championships. I mean, we just keep knocking on the door. Everybody works together, but it's not like just it's easy because it's Villanova. Everybody says it too. They say you guys do it the right way, and we do it the right way.
I think another part of that whole thing was, and you don't think about it until you see some of these bigger schools now where they have their athletic dorms and everyone's away from it. We were with the student body all the time. And the student body wanted to be part of us, and we were part of them, and it was always exciting times.
You were definitely with the student body.
For more, visit Villanova Basketball online, on social media, and on the Villanova Athletics app.
The full roundtable series will be available later this year. We look forward to that. But Whitey, we got a ball game to play tonight.
Yeah, a good one, too.
Yeah.
Butler, a week ago, Butler was number 5 in the country and kind of stumbled twice. They lost at home to a very good Seton Hall team. Then they lost at DePaul against the DePaul team that I think is getting better and better, and they got beaten pretty good in Chicago.
Yeah, DePaul finally got that first league win, but a signature win as well. But what Butler's done so well this year, they've improved so much on the defensive end. Some key stats, they're holding teams to 28% from three. Obviously, the Wildcats like to shoot a lot of threes, and they're only giving up 57 points a game. So this could be one of those 55, 54 type nights.
Which is unusual for Butler, like you say. They're not a team who's known for their defense. They're known for a team who plays fun offense, and they're fun to watch offensively. Never is a team who grinds that defensively, but they're doing so much better this year. Like you said, keeping their opponent under 30% from three. They don't make a lot of threes. They only make about 7 per game, right? Villanova makes 10 or 11 per game, so that could be something you really want to look at in this game. Kamar Baldwin, little number 3, left-handed point guard, is their best player. It's interesting as you go around this league, Steve, it seems like it's been this way for a while. The best players on most of the teams are point guards.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And a lot of them were left-handed for a lot of the years. But Kamar Baldwin, I remember him as a freshman saying, this guy, when Butler beat Villanova out at Butler, saying this kid's going to be a heck of a player. And he's one of those guys you always feel like, they always talk about Ryan Archediak. I feel like he's been there 5, 6, 7 years. Obviously in his senior year now, leading them in scoring at 15 points a game. And then Sean McDermott's their other double-figure scorer. On your team, as you mentioned, ranked in the top 5 in the country last year with only 2 double-figure scores.
Yeah, and McDermott's a guy who can just drill it from outside. He's a guy that Villanova's going to have to always fight over the top, always hedge. When he has the ball on the perimeter, they have to play him because he will knock down threes and knock down long threes. So he's a guy that had Jurgensen a year ago. Yep. The two of them are very similar. McDermott's the one who's still left. Another guy seems like he's been there a long, long time. Now, Villanova, mind you, has beaten Butler 4 times straight. Before that, Butler beat Villanova 3 times in a row. And what I think's always kind of tweaked Coach Wright is Butler's very similar to his team. They play a very similar style. I'm not going to say they've copied Villanova's style, but their style of play is very, very similar to Villanova. And there have been times when they've played it better when we've been out in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and another key for Butler this year has been the emergence of Jordan Tucker, the Duke transfer in his sophomore year now. Played half a year last season after transferring from Duke. A lot of people like him as potentially the sixth man of the year in the Big East. He gives him another perimeter threat.
Yeah, what I didn't like about him last year is when I first saw him, I saw he was a transfer from Duke. He only shot the ball when he had it in his hands. Like every time he came on the floor, he was just quickly shooting the ball. He settled in under LaVar Jordan as a much more well-rounded player. He guards a little bit, and he comes off the bench, which is surprising. I think he's probably talent-wise good enough to start.
Yeah, a common opponent, Baylor is the common opponent that Villanova and both Butler have played. Wildcats were defeated in the championship game down at Myrtle Beach. And Butler goes down and loses a 1-point game to now the #1 team in the country, Baylor. So I don't know what you draw from that conclusion, but obviously they played a quality schedule all year. They have wins over Minnesota, Stanford, Ole Miss, Florida, and Purdue. This is a really good basketball team.
It's a very good Butler team who's come off a couple of losses that really aren't surprising because Seton Hall's a really good team. They're a top 15 team. I think they're 11th in the country right now, or 10th in the country right now, and then they lost to DePaul at home. We saw DePaul here the other day. DePaul's a good basketball team, and it's tough to win on the road in this league. Hopefully it'll be tough for the Butler Bulldogs tonight on this court.
And the Butler comes in 15-3, but 3-2 in the Big East. So they were 3-0 about a week ago. Now they have an opportunity. If they don't win the ball game tonight, they're looking at 3-3. So this league is just going to be that way the whole season.
Yeah, and I like LaVar Jordan. I think he's done a terrific job. They've had a group of pretty good coaches, obviously starting with Brad Stevens in our time here since they've been in the league. And now they have LaVar Jordan, who just does a good job. Like you said, he's made this team into more than just an offensive club. They're a defensive club now who get down and dirty and will guard.
And and he's assistant under John Beilein. So he's learned the game. Obviously, Villanova fans know Beilein from his years at Michigan and West Virginia. So he's done a really quality job, as you mentioned, Whitey, and you just think big things for him in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he's had a good career. It'll be interesting to see how long he stays at Butler. The last coach ended up going to Ohio State, took a big job in Ohio State. And this is going to be a game, Steve, where I think this crowd, the 6,501 in this building, have to make noise. They have to back the Wildcats from the very beginning of the game, get on your feet, and cheer for the Wildcats to help them push them through this big victory.
By the Butler Bulldogs, 15-3, as we mentioned, strong game. Wildcats have gotten consistent play pretty much from their upperclassmen. We talked about Samuels and Gillespie and Bay, and then the emergence of Robinson Earl lately as a freshman. But they're going to need a fifth player tonight. Who do you think that could be?
Well, probably is going to be coming off the bench is Justin Moore, who's playing starter-type minutes. And if anybody plays like an older player, more mature player of any freshman I think I've ever seen, it's probably Justin Moore. He really plays an upper-class kind of game. And this is a game I think he'll really relish playing against a team that's guard-oriented, a team that will be out and play. He'll have to go out and guard a little bit. I'm looking for Justin Moore to have a big night today against the Bulldogs.
He was asked to make a big first impression, to play a key early season role for a perennial Big East contender, and to stretch past the limits of his comfort zone. But for freshman Justin Moore, this is nothing new. He's been pushing himself to new heights almost from the first day he began playing basketball.
I think starting at a young age, my dad always had me play in my age group where I get to kind of be the man and dominate the ball and learn how to to be a leader and make plays, and also playing up where I wasn't always the best on the team, so I had to learn how to play with other good players.
He's not afraid of any moment. I think it speaks to he played in two really successful high school program as well as his AAU program, and he was always in tough environments in the most difficult situations and playing, whether it be in big-time championship games in a great high school conference, or then also playing on a great AAU circuit and having to be in the toughest situations in championship games. But he always made the right plays, and that's what we loved about him. He was always doing all the little things.
You got a guy like Justin who's played on a nationally ranked high school team, a national championship AAU team, and the people around him are telling him, you're talented, but you should go to Villanova because you can get a lot better and you need to improve. That's rare. And to be able to coach a guy like that that's coming in here that is good enough to get on the floor immediately, but also has the mindset that I want to be coached and I want to get better, that's a coach's dream, and that's what he is.
For Justin, it's about understanding that his talent alone isn't enough. It's how that talent is applied.
Go, 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 go!
It's different coming from high school, being a big-time guy. You can take possessions off here and there and get away with it, but at this level you can't. So you have to be ready and dialed in every possession, playing hard, making sure you're competing on every possession. I think that's what he's learning to do right now. and he just has to keep continuing to grow, learn the concepts, and continuing to learn how to compete and play at a whole nother level.
When you're going against a zone, think about it. There's always a middleman, right? So anytime we set a ball screen against a zone,
when you feel like you're doing it right, you're giving it your all, he still says, nope, you're not playing hard enough, you're not doing it the right way. It's like, dang, I thought I was doing it, but you just gotta keep focused, attitude, just keep pushing.
drive, jump stop to score, and then make that pass, all right?
He's just one of those most passionate coaches I've ever played for. It's just, when he's coaching, when he's talking, you just feel that fire and that passion that he really wants to win and help us get better, and it helps all of us get that fire too.
Say it again so the other guys know who they have to step up on. Keep talking, keep talking.
Being able to talk to community with my teammates, sometimes I'm too quiet and I'm not maybe calling out a switch or calling out a play. But I gotta be more vocal, especially as a point guard or the ball in my hands. Just being more active on defense, just making more plays.
Okay, now if you make that, then they gotta maybe start softening you. But we want to now know next time we're getting downhill. You got it?
Coach just wants them to be a little bit more expressive on the court and, you know, just be a little bit more in tune with everybody, not just stay to himself. And I think he does have that silent, like, killer on and off the court.
I mean, I say I'm kind of, yeah, sometimes I'm quiet, just kind of chill. But on the court, I can't be like that. I got to be talking, screaming, and all that. So I'm working on that.
Way to get him a shot, Justin. Good job, good job, good job.
And sometimes that lesson is taught in an unconventional way.
Before practice, coach comes in, we're listening to music. And it's a song I don't really know the lyrics to, so I'm not up singing it and dancing and all that. And then he comes in and says, Justin, you gonna sing the song? Because of course he says I'm quiet and all that. So I'm like, I don't know the lyrics to this one. And they all start laughing. So he's like, oh, I want you to pick a song and sing it to us after practice. So the whole practice, I'm like, oh my gosh, gotta do this. So we end up picking a song and I'm in the middle of the circle and I sing it to him, but then he wants me to scream it and yell. So we started over and I yell it to the whole team and the team gets hyped with me. And it was actually ended up being pretty fun, but it was nerve-wracking at first.
His ability to communicate with his teammates on the floor in loud arenas is going to be really important to us. That's the one area that's just not comfortable for him. And it's just, you know, it's not something that's easy for him. And we're really trying to get him to talk on the floor. I told him he can be quiet off the court, but on the court, he's got to be demonstrative and communicative.
Moore wants to attack. There's a new career high on the left-handed layup.
I love it because he's trying to push me to another level. And especially me being a guard out there, I got to be vocal. So he's just trying different creative ways to spark that thing out of me.
He knows he has a lot more room to grow. And the coaches are constantly on him about what he has to do and what he has to grow at. And we all know it as a team.
He's had it all, and you can see, you know, he comes in here very prepared to play college basketball at a high level immediately. And we really benefited from that. And the beauty of it is he's got so much room to improve.
Why did the Wildcats wrap up a 4-game homestand tonight with the Butler Bulldogs? But then it's time to hit the road.
Yeah, it's nice to have those 4 games in a row at home, especially if the Cats can get a win tonight. But then you go to 2 of the more difficult places to play. Certainly Providence, playing up in the Dunkin' Donuts Center up in Providence against a very good Providence team that's really playing their best basketball right now. That'll be a tough game on Saturday. And then off to the city so nice they named it twice. New York, to play in the Garden against the St. John's Red Storm.
Who took Seton Hall all the way down to the wire. Seton Hall in first place right now in the league at 6-0. And St. John's under first-year coach Mike Anderson doing a really good job. And like I said, there's no easy games in this league. And some people think, maybe St. John's is down. They've lost a lot. That's going to be really tough.
Yeah, they have some good players. Some good players returned from last year. L.J. Figueroa, Mustafa Heron. They have some good players there. A new coach I know very little about. I'll learn about him more after this weekend. And again, you're playing in the Garden. That's their home turf. There'll be 16,000, 17,000 people there.
And then the Wildcats return home to play the Creighton Blue Jays on February 1st. And then it's right back to Butler. You see these Bulldogs twice here in a very short period of time.
Yeah, they're entering into, after playing 4 home games, they're entering into a very difficult part of their schedule.
Well, this is a special week in college basketball. It's Coaches versus Cancer Week, so you see all your coaches out there with suits and sneakers. And in the Philadelphia area specifically, the 6 coaches in Philadelphia have done an outstanding job in raising awareness and dollars for the fight against cancer.
Yeah, in particular, Coach Wright's been involved with it for a long time. Former coach at St. Joe, Phil Martelli, and at Temple, Fran Dunphy, both were extremely involved in it nationally. So this is probably the best core of Coaches versus Cancer coaches in the country.
Without a doubt. It's been a group that's raised significant amounts of dollars. They have 4 or 5 events throughout the year that we've been able to attend and be a part of. So it's a special week. Obviously, the fight against cancer has touched just about everyone. We lost Coach Massimino, one of your teammates, Mike Stack. So it's touched everyone in the Villanova community, but also everyone outside the Villanova community as well. Nova Nation, you can make sure you catch Inside Villanova Basketball with Jay Wright, presented by the Land Rover Jaguar Mainline. Next show will be Wednesday, January 29th at 6:30 on NBC Sports Philadelphia. The Cats at the Wells Fargo Center February 1st that Whitey and I talked about take on the Creighton Blue Jays. Grab your tickets at Wells Fargo Center Philly.com or call 610-519-4100. Whitey, as we get ready for this big game tonight in the Big East, give me 2 keys.
Well, I think Villanova is going to have to shoot the ball better than they have from the perimeter, which is going to be hard against a team that defends so very well. And they're going to need Robinson Earl to get more involved offensively, I think, in and around the basket. This is not a big dominating team like we saw the other day. This is a smaller team. Robinson Earl has to get up on the glass.
All right, everybody, let's get ready to rock the Fin as the Wildcats prepare to take on the Butler Bulldogs right here from the Finneran Pavilion.